And welcome back to the Barry Foster Show, originating from the beautiful Ridge Floor Studios in downtown Avon Park. I want to remind you, if you have any ideas, thoughts, suggestions, you can reach us at thebarryfostershow@gmail.com. And a lot of you know that I'm a big race fan, and our first racing interview is going to be with my good friend Bill Boyer, who is the major domo of Highlands Racing. And Bill, good morning, sir. Good to have you with us.
Good morning.
You know, there's a lot of other locals that race at the 12 hours. Ed Hubbard had a car, and Kenny LeGros had a car, but Highlands Racing is probably the most storied and best known team. Was it? Did you guys get started in '77? Where did Highlands Racing really actually start?
Well, actually, my first racing experience was, as far as at Sebring, was with LeGros, and that was in '79. And then, as it kind of transpired along, I mean, all along, I wanted to get a car of my own, and I had through the racing at Sebring, I had met Louis Saray, who was from Miami. And he was involved with a racing team, the Garcia racing team. And he told me about a car that he had gotten for himself, but had gotten involved with the Garcias and hadn't been able to do anything with that car, and wanted to know if I wanted to buy it. And so I went to Miami and wound up picking up the car and bringing it back. And at that time, Steve Roberts was in the sanitation business. He was a personal friend of mine. Nell Roberts at Ridge Florist. I had obviously bought a lot of flowers off and on there, and Buzzy Roberts at the time was going to the Skip Barber Racing School, and Steve approached me about since he knew that I was picking up this race car. If Buzzy by any chance could get involved with my car. And so that's kind of how basically Boyer and Roberts racing got started. And after 2 years of competing with that car, that which we started racing it in '84 and '85, and in the meantime, Steve had said that he would like to try to find a car that maybe was a little bit more competitive than the car that we presently had. And in I think it was 1983, Gordy Oftedal, who was from Minneapolis, raced at Sebring, and in a conversation with him at the track, he had said that he was getting out of racing and would have a car for sale. And so, as it turns out, we decided to go to Minneapolis and pick up a car his last car that he had raced, and brought it back. And that's when we actually then formulated HRT, or Highlands Racing Team.
So was that the famous Sunbank Camaro that we see in all the pictures?
That was a Firebird, the car that I had for the couple of years that I raced. And of course, when I raced my Camaro, it was me and Buzzy the first year, and then it was me and Buzzy and John Barbin the second year. And then that was a Camaro. And then when we formulated Highlands Racing Team, that was a Firebird.
So how did you get the Sunbank sponsorship? That was pretty stout.
Well, we called our car the Racing Yellow Pages. Uh, we were back in those days. It was almost race what you brung at Sebring. But you needed sponsors, and so we had the bank, we had the Wild Turkey Tavern. I mean, oh my goodness, I don't know how many sponsors we had on that car, including Ridge Florist and actually South Florida Community College. And oh my goodness, it was a little bit of everybody. But for some reason, Sunbank kind of got the very front of the car.
There was a beautiful picture. And now, were you teaching at the college at that time? Were you doing motor?
Yeah, yeah, I was at the college at that time. I started at the college in '72, so yeah, I had been at the college for quite a while. And matter of fact, some of the painting and stuff like that was actually done, in the auto body program at South Florida Community College.
That's really interesting because there's a great racing float that shows up every year at the 12 hours called La
Yeah,
Bamba, and to build that thing, they actually used it as a project car for their motor instruction to put that thing together and drop a motor and a transmission in it and make it work. So that's not unusual, and you really ended up with a lot of local guys kind of flocking to you. You mentioned Buzzy Roberts and, of course, John Barber, but Joe Gillians was there. Tom Macklin was there. You got a lot of local guys coming and say, "Hey, can we be part of this effort?"
yeah, it was. It was kind of once the word was around that I had a car. I mean, back when we first started with the Boyer and Roberts with my Camaro, all the I guess racing enthusiasts, decided that, oh, we got to join into this thing. So, like you say, I mean, it was Joe Gillians and Tom Macklin, David Cloud, Dennis Sides. Rick Rittenauer, Andy Leach, that actually had the wrecker service there out on Central Avenue in my old shop. Yeah, it was just an accumulation of people that wanted to be involved. I mean, there was Bill Dudley that worked with us a little bit. Bill Agee, that was also an instructor at Sebring High School. I mean, it just seemed like every night at the shop somebody else showed up.
And for being a small team, you guys had a number of travails. The most famous one that I can remember was I was at the time I was a turn reporter for the Grand Prix Radio Network, and they told us through our headphones that there was a car that was going to be making some hardship laps that was apparently it had some sand or some sugar put in their gas tank, and they had to fix the car overnight. And it was you guys. You
Yeah.
guys had to. What happened there?
Well, we never really found out what happened. We had taken the car to the track and for practice, um, and we when we took it back to my shop, we it was kind of late. It was like 7 o'clock at night or something like that, and so rather than take the car off of the trailer and put it in the shop like we would normally do, we left it out at my shop on the trailer. And so the next day, I believe that was qualifying the next day. And I mean, I'm going down the back stretch wide open, and the motor just explodes. And and we're like, what in the world, I mean, so we take the car back to the shop and start pulling the motor out to try to find out what's wrong with it. And in disconnecting some of the fuel lines and everything, we find sand in the fuel lines. And and then we go to the oil tank which is in the back of the car, because we had what's called a dry sump oil system. And the oil tank is got like 2 inches of sand in the bottom of it.
Mm.
And actually, to tell you the truth, we never ever determined how that happened. And the that was the day or 2 days, I don't remember exactly, before the race, and we're like, we don't have an engine. And Dennis Sides, who had been working with us on the car, he says, "Well, I got a good motor in my pickup truck at the house," and so we went to Dennis Sides' house. We pulled the engine out of his pickup truck and brought it and put it in the car. And I mean, it was basically nothing but a stock pickup truck motor, and we ran the 12 hours and finished with that with that pickup truck motor in the car.
Well, that is one of the great claims to fame that you guys had, is that you always finished. And there were a lot of teams that started and they may have had a lot more money and they may have been a lot better car, but they didn't finish. But the Highlands Racing always finished the 12 hours.
Well, that was our thing. That was because we had so many local people that were helping us as far as sponsorship. We just made it a point that unless something catastrophic happened, we were going to finish. And I mean, there was one year that we actually had to, with my old car, we actually had to change the transmission to finish. And actually, the first year that we ran the Firebird, and I don't know if you remember, but that was the year that Robbie Unser drove with us. It was me and Buzzy and Robbie Unser. And we were actually that year in third place in GTO. I mean, we were having a terrific race. And we had a pump for the transmission cooler seize up. And there again, it took us like, I don't know, it took us 45 minutes to get the pump off of the car. All it was a little piece of metal in the pump that had it bound up. The pit crew, which I don't remember who all was on it at that time, they took it apart, cleaned it out. We had gone back out with no cooler on the car, and then they came back in, and another 45 minutes of work, we put it back in the car, and there again finished the race that year. And we typically, matter of fact, I was looking back on the results, and I think normally we finish somewhere around out of and one of those years there was like 83 cars that started the race. We always finished within the top 30.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
and I think I know this story. I think the statute of limitations has expired, so I'm going to ask you about this. I remember one year, and I think it was the year where you all got the Hawaiian shirts down there at
right,
Penny's because they were on sale. But there was
right,
something you guys were doing to the car, and Steve Roberts, Steve the Elder, was there, and he had a pink flamingo on his head, and his job apparently was to keep the official busy with small talk while you worked on the car. Do
right.
you remember that? What were you guys doing to the car at that time?
I don't remember. It seemed like it was just a final preparation for the race. I believe we were going over all the fluids and everything, and like you say, that was not only was that the year of the Hawaiian shirts, but we had flamingos all over the place.
Hmm. Yeah, and I remember Steve telling the story. There's a 16 millimeter film of some of the racing stuff, and he elbowed me, and he says my job was to keep the official busy while they were doing something to the car that may or may not have been something they were allowed to do. You might have had too many guys over the wall. I forget what it was, but
Well, actually, one year, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but we had a breakdown. Actually, the car broke down out on the racetrack, and it was back when I think that was actually in my old car, but Steve was involved in it, and it was back the year that they had the track where you ran between the warehouses back on the back stretch,
Yes, yes.
and the car broke down right there, which was kind of hidden by the warehouses. Okay. And I didn't know what was wrong with it, and we hollered back, and Joe Gillians said, "Well, I'll come find out what it is." And I said, "Joe, you can't, you can't do that." He said, "Yeah, we'll do it somehow." So anyhow, they drove back there somehow and got back there, and Joe ran across the track, jumped in the window of the car, got under the dash and fixed whatever was wrong with it and climbed back out, and we kept right on going.
Now it can be told, you know.
Yeah,
We're talking with Joe Gillian. We're talking with Bill Boyer about Highlands Racing. And was this a year long project after March in the 12? Did you take it back to your shop and put new stuff on it and tune it up and get it for the next year's race?
it was almost a year project. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't every night. But somebody was rebuilding the engine, and somebody maybe else was going through the transmission. I mean, some of it was at the shop. Some of it was, like Joe did most of the engine work down at his shop there on Main Street where he had the mower business. Um, Dennis Sides did a couple of our transmissions at his house in his garage, and but yeah, we did a lot of it at the shop. But of course, I was also running a business at the shop at the time. I was teaching school at that time, but uh, actually part of that time, Neil Potter had taken over my position in my old shop, and was now running it, under his name and everything. And so, I still had the shop, but it no longer was actually my business. And I might also add that my old car, that is had a lot of history to it, because that car originally was from Argentina, and it is now out in California, being restored by a race car restoration shop out in California, ran by Chad Raynal, and it will, at some point, maybe later this year, my old Camaro will be back on the track racing in the historic division of IMSA.
Yeah, and speaking of it, I want to ask you about that in a minute. But speaking of IMSA, they constantly seem to be changing the rules and changing the classifications. Over the course of time, were you ever blindsided? Did you ever have to go fix something real quick so that you're within specs so you could run?
Well, back, we were very fortunate, I would have to say, because back in the time that we were racing, it was probably a period of time where Joe Blow, that didn't have a pocket full of money, could go race the 12 hours. Today, if you don't have probably close to $1 million behind you, you're not going to race at Sebring, you know, because back when we were racing, uh, you could qualify if you were within a minute and a half of the fastest qualifier. Today, you cannot race unless you are within 30 seconds of the fastest qualifier.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
And
is that kind of what happened to you guys? That at some point in time, it just got to be cost prohibitive for you to go racing?
it's an expensive hobby. And actually, to be honest with you, sports car racing is a hobby, because as far as paying money, it really pays back Very, very, very little. The only way these people that are doing the racing today, the only support they get is by what kind of stickers they've got on the car. I mean, if you're using champion spark plugs and you win, then you're going to get a lot of money back from champion spark plugs. If you're running Pennzoil oil, you're going to get a lot of money back from Pennzoil, okay?
Hmm.
The most the most we ever won at Sebring, I believe, was like $385.
Does that pay for the entry fees? That doesn't even pay for the entry fees, I don't think.
It barely would cover the entry fee.
That's so, real quick. I know that your car's going to be back out in the historic division. Do you have any? I know you're retired now up there in Tennessee. So
Right.
do you have any plans to go out there and see it on the track, or go out there and have your picture made with it or
I'm
anything?
I'm hoping to be able to do that. Yes, I am. Matter of fact, Chad, the guy that's rebuilding the car, he's very fanatical. He's traced down a lot of history of that car, and he actually has a very successful business out there. He's got John Greenwood's Corvette out there.
Mm.
He's got some of Mark Donahue's old cars. He's very, very big into restoration. He actually um, has done, even some of the cars for old NASCAR cars and stuff like that. I mean, he does a lot of restoration work, and so he's we're trying to work out a deal where when he gets done with the car that I can get out there and maybe even take a lap or two in it somewhere.
Oh, how cool would that be? I mean, then that's pretty fast company for to have the Highlands Racing car. Is it going to have the 25 on it? Are you going to with the old number and the old sponsorships and stuff? Do you think he's going to do that?
Um, he is, like he says, he has the John Greenwood old car out there that he's restored. And I don't know if you remember, but the first year that I raced my car, it was red, white, and blue with
Hmm.
stars all over it. I don't know if you have any pictures of that car at that time, but I sort of copied a Greenwood paint scheme on that car. Okay.
Really?
And so now, Kurt Greenwood, which is John's brother, is very close friends with this Chad Raynol out there at his restoration place. And they have agreed to allow Chad to put a Greenwood paint scheme on my old car when he gets done with it.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah. So, and it's gonna be. I mean, to me, it's gonna be quite a deal. I mean, I can't wait for it to come about. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope that when he gets done and everything that he's even said that he'll probably buy me an air ticket to come out there. So we'll see how it works.
That's very cool. Now, Bill, let me ask you. We're getting up on time here, but with Highlands Racing, what would you consider like your biggest success that you had with the team over the years?
Uh, I would say that the year that Robbie Unser drove with us, we, barring the problem that we had that year, we would have probably finished. I would say ahead of a lot of. Matter of fact, at the time that our car broke down, we were ahead of all of the Roush cars.
Wow,
And Roush had three cars in the race that year. You know,
those were the Whistler Mustangs. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and we were ahead of all of them. And and then all of a sudden we had this problem. And I mean, like I say, that little niche, so to speak. I mean, and really, the part that failed on the car was a part that we had never even fooled with. I mean, it had always worked. We had and we didn't even know how to get to it and how to remove it and put it back in the car, and because we had never fooled with it. And so, like I say, we lost probably almost a hour
Mm,
and a half
wow.
in the race that year, and we still that year finished. Let me see, 32nd, I believe it was.
Well, and again, it's amazing that every year you ran, you finished the race, and not every team can say that. And
We never had a DNF.
Bill, I can't tell you how much I appreciate. This is our first. People know I'm a race fan. We're going to be doing a lot of race interviews. John Dean the second is supposed to be joining me later, but it's really great to have the Highlands Racing as the first racing podcast that I did, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk a little bit, reminisce about this, and give some people an inside look into Highlands Racing.
Well, I appreciate it, and I know that back when you were with the radio station and everything, we had a lot of contact even way back there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's always got a very soft spot in our hearts, and all the local guys, that help put this together, and appreciate you especially for kind of getting the ball rolling on this, Bill. I just
Well, it's been a great conversation, Barry.
We've been talking with Bill Boyer, the I guess team owner, crew chief, uh, team manager of Highlands Racing over the years, and we'll have some more racing interviews for you coming up. You've been listening to the Barry Foster Show. Remember, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, send them to the Barry Foster Show at gmail.com. And please like and subscribe. It'll help us out a lot. You all have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.